Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Friday. We're glad to have you chat with Mac. It is the end of the week. It is a 3-day weekend. So, for you that are new, welcome. And for those of you that join us every Friday, we're so glad to have you. Nadeem, how's it going, sir?
Oh, it's going great. Yeah, 3-day weekend. You know, you're the third person who mentioned that. So I guess it's a big thing.
Yeah, I think people are, from what I gathered today, people are just ready to kind of decompress. And for a lot of people, it's the first time where they're actually getting a chance to leave their houses or wherever. So people are excited. I mean, I'm staying inside. I'm not really venturing out. That's not yet. I'm not ready for that. But it is good to get some sleep. So
I think it's my grandson's graduation today. Yeah, I think there's like a party or something at 8. I know I gotta be there. My wife asked me earlier, I was like, "Are you gonna be able to make it?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I'll be there. I know."
where's he graduating from? I mean, is high school or?
High school, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
wow, awesome, awesome.
So, I mean, I don't remember having any graduation or any kind of party, even in college. I don't remember that. I guess it's a thing nowadays.
Oh my God, it's a huge thing. I remember graduating out of high school and college was such a big deal that
Yeah,
yeah, they threw a huge to do, especially high school because it was kind of hairy there for me for a minute. Kind of hairy there, and I was acting out. So the fact that I was able to leave, they were happy about. So yeah.
yeah. There's
So
there's an interesting thing I was reading before we start talking about IT stuff. So, I have these conversations with people, and I think I had this one with my wife. I told her, look, the next superpower is going to be China.
yeah.
you know and so she was like, why, blah blah blah, and it's like, look at anything, look in a room, it doesn't matter, even if something is made in the USA, it has some components that are made in China.
Yep.
Everything is made in China.
Yep.
Now, I looked at some of the stats. I think it came from Brad Smith at Microsoft. But anyway, so China in 2019, China surpassed the number of patents filed. China surpassed the US. US used to be the number one in patents filed. 2019, China surpassed the US. So that is one thing. China is investing more in AI compared to the US.
Mm,
Huge investment. And then on the flip side of it, there's another little stat that's interesting is China has 54% of surveillance cameras in the world. In the world.
really?
Wow. Yeah, 54%. All of the surveillance cameras deployed, 54% are in China. Everything else is in the rest of the world. Huh.
Jeez. That's interesting.
So think about this. They have all these patents. They're making so many strides in science and technology. They're investing so heavily in AI. Are we going to get to a point where the AI decides it's going to keep tabs on the humans and the camera's already there?
Wait a minute. What is the name of that? From Terminator? Is it God something net?
Oh,
Where
Skynet.
Skynet? Yeah, where the AI got too intelligent and started to attack the humans. That's a scary
Yeah, I
thing.
think wasn't it George Orwell's 1984 that he
Yep.
was saying. So we didn't get there in 1984, but we might get there yet. So who knows?
That's a scary
Uh,
thought.
yeah, but the thing is, if AI becomes if AI gets to a point where it can self-replicate, which means robots making robots, There's no end to it. So
Uh,
robots can make robots to get the raw materials to make more robots.
yeah, but
Anyway,
then, now this is a rabbit hole. But then what? I mean, is it possible? We've seen it in movies, and let's just be honest. When they say, when art becomes actual life, I mean, we've seen in movies where the robots and AI become self-aware. Is that a legitimate scare, or you
well,
know?
I think it is, and a lot of people who are involved in AI believe it is. And here's the reason why: we have progressed from building the intelligence into machines. Like we used to have, if this happens, do this. It wasn't intelligence. Now we've gotten to a point where we have computer systems that self-educate themselves. In other words, they learn themselves. And that's what the big thing is now, is that you don't just program something to do something a certain way. You program something to learn how to do something a certain way. That's what we're building nowadays. So that we are one step closer to that point where the machines can actually learn that maybe the human is fixing to turn them off or whatever, you know.
Oh, that mercy. Ladies and gentlemen, this was not planned, but woo,
No,
that's a little scary.
no, no, it wasn't planned. I was just, reading this report that, so Brad Smith, he's the I think the president of Micro, not the president. Who is he?
Isn't he the
CFO
uh,
yeah, I think that he's the CFO, isn't he? The chief financial officer. So he puts out this report, and a couple of known names were mentioned on there. Eric Schmidt being one of them, who is now on the board of some AI think tank. And of course, media whores like Elon Musk, they're always on, talking
sorry.
about AI and stuff. But the thing is that there's a legitimate concern now that there is something there, and something's going to happen, and it's going to happen in China. But the problem is, even if something happens in China, it's not going to be isolated to China. I mean, it's going to proliferate around the world. So, uh, just something to think about over the long holiday.
Lord have mercy. Well, speaking of, stuff happening, if for both those of you that don't know, now we earlier this year we went through the whole solar winds attack, which was catastrophic. I mean, it was really something else, even though I think they've tried to keep it under the wraps, but there were some very far reaching consequences of that. Now we had yet another major cyber attack, and this time I think it hit the USAID's email system. I mean, this is major. So Nadeem, tell us more about that.
Yeah, so this attack is the U.S. aid, and basically what happened is somebody got the credentials for this agency's constant contact login. And if you don't know, if you haven't heard, Constant Contact, I think probably is the most well-known mass email platform out there, right? Everybody kind of uses that.
Everybody uses that. Yeah.
So they found out that it was compromised because of some of the emails that went out, and that's where it started. Um, uh, I'm not going to go into the details of who was behind it, but of course, Russia's name always comes up in these kind of things.
Always. Hmm.
But the thing is, it happened, and it's the you know one side of me says it's preventable. It's always preventable. Uh, if you just took the basic precautions, like even if you're logging into Constant Contact, they offer multi-factor authentication. Why wasn't it enabled?
Mm.
Especially, an agency like U.S. aid agency. I mean, it's like, why wasn't it enabled? But here's why these kind of attacks are not going away, because the numbers are stacked against the good guys. The numbers are stacked against the good guys because the bad guys, they only need to penetrate once and they win. But the good guys have to prevent that every time. If they miss one time, they've lost already.
Yeah.
And that's how the numbers are stacked against the good guys. So I urge everybody, and this is what we do internally as well, is make as many layers as you can. So even if somebody penetrates 1 or 2 layers, it's no big deal. We fix it, we patch it, we move on. And the bad guys will go to some other company or some other attack surface that's easier, that doesn't have that many layers. So that's something that I think we need to do is make sure that everybody out there is implementing multiple layers. And we've talked about this, implementing layers. This right on the I mean, this whole year has been full of all these attacks. I mean,
but you called it. Remember, at the beginning of the year, you said that these attacks were they weren't going to level off. They were actually going to increase. And you also said that they were going to get a lot more sophisticated than what we've seen. And here we are.
Yeah. But, I kind of predicted it, but I didn't have all the data. It's becoming much more clear now. I mean, it's like we didn't have a lot of different insights that we have now on why it's happening, now, why certain governments are behind it. I mean, it's it's almost like that, it's like a James Bond movie unfolding in real life.
Yeah,
I mean, it's that scale. So what do? Just standardize your processes. I'm going to give you an example. Yesterday, I was talking to a customer you know very well. And the customer asked, "Hey, Nadeem, tell me what I can buy that will fix all these issues that I'm having. I know every time you touch my machine, you charge me for it. And I know you're a business, but I need to get to a point where I can just pay. If it's $1 million, I pay $1 million, I buy something, I put it in place, and I don't have to worry about it." And I gave her this example. I'm like, look, it doesn't matter if you buy a Toyota or a Lamborghini. Both of them need maintenance. If you don't maintain them, either one of them is not going to be reliable. And that's how IT is. IT is not something that you can buy and put in place. IT is a process. If you don't do those oil changes and that regular maintenance on your Toyota or your Lamborghini, either one is gonna fail. And it was, once I said that, there was a pause, and I could almost hear her brain kind of clicking, and she was like, "You put it very well. Now I understand." and I was, but I know this customer. I know at the end of the day, they're still going to be like, "Oh, well, I know I can buy this license for $12 and it's going to keep me more secure, but this one is for $4. Yeah, my users will have to do some extra things and it won't be as secure, but I'm going to go with the $4."
Yeah,
that's just the way they are. I know them. And less than telling customers like that, "Hey, we can't help you." And we are getting to a point where, to some of our customers, or we've said, "Look, we can't help you." Because at the end of the day, if you make a recommendation and then the customer doesn't take that recommendation, and then down the line something happens, it's your name. They're going to be like, "Oh yeah, these guys were our support people, and this happened when they didn't take the recommendation." So now, so we did turn away some customers because of that. We are implementing processes to make it more clear to customers, like maybe something that I'm working on is maybe that will kind of give you a scale and do in order of preference. What do you need to put in place first? What next? And give you like budgetary numbers, which we do as part of our VCIO process. And we've made several videos around that, how that process works well to standardize things. So the what I'm working on in that process is to give a good bird's eye view of what a customer's annual 2-year, 3-year budget should look like for them to be secure. And then it'll list all the different initiatives and items and recommendations, and then customer can either choose to implement them, or they can say, I do not accept this. And then the system will keep track of which customer at what point in what meeting said they're not going to accept this. So if something happens, then we have a record of it, and we can tell the customer, look, this is what happened, and this is why it happened, and this is when we did not get the approval to implement this. I guess people who don't understand IT or processes, they're thinking IT companies just make up stuff to sell us things.
They do.
I don't want to sell anything to anybody. I don't want to sell anything. There is nothing to sell. It's the process. You can put all the technology in the world in place. It's not going to help you until your process is good. If your process is broken, no product is going to help or fix that. That's a broken process.
Yeah.
And that's I think what clicked with this client was that you cannot buy a product and replace routine service with a product. It's not possible.
Right.
Or at least not now. Maybe in the future we'll be able to get this AI thing that will automatically do all the maintenance and no humans will be involved. I don't know. We might get there.
We might get there. You're right.
So but the thing is that this hack that happened, it's I think I don't know if their investigation is complete yet. Last I heard, they were still going through the forensic investigation, but it basically, they're sending out, the way the attack worked is they use USAID's constant contact mass email system to send out email with an infected payload that would take over user machines, basically compromise user machines. And not only would it infect other machines, but those infected machines would then infect other machines. So it was like, exponential. And this is I mean, from the bad guys' perspective, they have an awesome business plan around this. Exponential growth of whatever they're doing. And the thing is, there are still a lot of customers out there who are not implementing any kind of training, any kind of simulations, any kind of monitoring around breaches, to where a lot of times you only know of a breach because somebody complains or a customer comes to you and says, hey, I got this weird email. Why'd you send this? And you're like, oh, no, we didn't send it. And then it's like, oh, what happened here? We're still kind of recovering from that SolarWinds attack, and then all of a sudden this happens. Like I said, the cards are stacked against the good guys.
Yeah.
Everything is in favor of the bad guys because they only have to penetrate once, but the good guys have to block that attack every time, because if the good guys fail once, the damage is already done.
Yeah. But let me ask you this, Nadeem. So, and we harp on this a lot, during our videos, but so for whatever reason, it just doesn't seem to be seeking in with a lot of people. You kind of touched on it a little bit. For the small business owner, what does this mean? I mean, how should they look at this attack and say, well, if this happened to these big companies, what about me? I mean, you're a small, for what it is, PCSN is a small business owner. We're in IT, but if you're on the other side, let's say you're a manufacturer, what should be the thinking? Because it just seems people kind of gloss over this and don't really see the big thing.
Yeah, they do. And so we put processes in place for other businesses in a variety of industries. It's the same process that we implement internally. The process is standardize things. If you have an in-house IT admin, I'll give you another example. A customer where we only do like certain cloud platforms, we do that for them. They maintain their own IT department internally.
Mm-hmm.
And so this customer, they have, this is like a 40-50 user company. They have a server, and then they have, I'm not going to put any brand names out there, and then they have a network attached storage device. They're trading energy. So, it's not a fly-by-night type company. They're making a killing. But they have this 5-year-old server and this 5-year-old network attached storage. Remember, not a storage area network, but a network attached storage device, something that you can buy off of Best Buy and plug into your network and use it as storage. That was their main primary storage for the company. And then, of course, the IT admin was traveling. He was on a plane, and the storage crashed, and everything, hit the fan. And it's like we can't get to the data. Users are screaming, we can't get to the data. Well, yeah, because your storage is not there anymore. And so they put in a call to us, and we're like, wait a minute, we can't fix anything. We can't even ping the device. It's like the device is not there. What do you want us to do? So we got eyes on the device, and the device has multiple indicators for all the drives in it. All of them were yellow. Everything was yellow. It was like there was a controller issue or something. So anyway, the IT admin finally got back. He called me from the airport, and I remember talking to him, and he was like, he's on his way to the office straight from the airport because he's got to figure this out, because here's what happened. He did not follow any best practice, any standards. He had no standards. He was putting together a server that's more than 5 years old. It's not under warranty, sticking some NAS device on the network, sticking everybody's data on there, production data on there. Who does that? I don't even do it at my house. Who does that in a business? 40, 50 users. How can... It's not the IT admin's fault. Maybe he doesn't know. He just doesn't have the experience. Management's fault. It's the management's fault who hired this IT admin to run this system, and he just didn't know any good. But whose fault is it? It's like if something like this happened here at PCSN, ultimately it'll be my fault, right? I made the bad decision to hire a guy who didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
And nothing against the IT admin. I talked to him. He's a great guy, but he only knows what he knows. He doesn't know what he doesn't know. How is somebody supposed to know what they don't know?
Right.
They can't.
Right. No, that's it.
So the thing is, and I tried to tell him. I sent an email to the CFO, and I CC'd him. I didn't want to throw him under the bus. But I sent an email to the CFO, and I explained to him what happened and how their process is broken. I don't care why the process is broken. Bottom line is, process is broken. There are no procedures in place to standardize things. And so today I got an email from the IT admin, and he said, oh, he's going to look at enterprise grade storage now, but everybody's back ordered. I can't find anything. And I'm like, yeah, that should have been done like, a year ago when we first said, hey, Get
Yeah.
ready for this. This is coming. Actually, I think we talked to them about
Yep.
migrating them to the cloud.
Sure did.
But now here's where we are. He's trying to locate hardware that he cannot find. Even if he can find, it's on back order. It's not going to get there next day. No way. Uh, the data, there is a lot of loss of data because a lot of the data that was on this system is gone. It's not coming back because the backup was not running either. So it's like there's so many different things that happen together, and this is how accidents happen. Accidents don't happen when just one issue occurs. Accidents happen when multiple issues occur at the same time. That's when accidents happen. And it doesn't matter what accident. It could be an accident, just driving down the road. When you have an accident, it's not just one issue that happened. It's always multiple things that happen at the same time that cause an accident. Look that up. It's a real thing. So
Mm.
so now in this case, there is loss of data. He is looking for hardware. He can't find it. The server is not in warranty. There are some issues with the server. Now, here's the weird part. I logged into their server and I logged in remotely. So I logged into their server to see what was going on. Why isn't the data accessible? That's when I found out that the NAS device was totally offline. I found an old, I'm going to use a very technical term, POS antivirus that was complaining that its definitions were out of date and the license had expired, running on their server. Now, mind you, this is the only server they have. The only antivirus on that server is saying, hey, I'm out of date, update me or do something, put me out of my misery. And they leave it
Oh
running. And
man.
then the IT guy gets on a plane, goes somewhere else. And of course, bad things happen at the most inconvenient and inopportune times. So I told him, I was like, look, you're not going to find new hardware at this point. Go into the refurb market, the gray market. You can probably find some used refurb equipment that you can put in place that will still have some warranty on there. And you're going to probably pay double what you would pay for a new device because all the people in the refurb space, they know how the market is, how short the supply is. You can buy a server right now cheaper directly from Dell than you would buy the same model used at a in the gray market.
Wow.
And these are actual numbers. I mean, I've looked at, like, there was a server I quoted a customer. It was going to cost directly from Dell, was going to cost like $4,500, and in the refurb space it was like $12,000. And I was like, I can't even with a straight face send an estimate to a customer that, hey, the new one is going to cost this much. It's going to take this long to get to you. But hey, I can get a refurb one for more than double the price. I mean, so folks, if you are in charge of IT or if you are making decisions for IT at your organization, you need to make sure that you have good processes in place. The processes, the TAM, the technology alignment reviews that we do, there's a reason why we do that. Just give you another example. So we just did a TAM review at another customer where we go in and we do these reviews like on a monthly basis. It's a fixed cost customer, so we do this on a monthly basis. And we find little things here and there. Well, we found out that in one section of the building, rats ate through the network cable.
Mm.
I mean, that's a problem waiting to happen. So one
Hmm.
day, people are going to come in, they don't have connectivity, and they're like, what happened? Everything was working fine yesterday. Nobody touched anything. Yeah, but the rats did. So, so these things happen. The review, the process of reviewing, it's almost like wash, rinse, repeat. It's that process. You keep doing that, and over time, your infrastructure gets more and more stable. Why do we do that with fixed cost customers? Even though sending a tech on site to do the TAM review, and it takes about, I mean, it takes pretty much all day for a TAM to do this. It's a cost to us, but we will gladly take that cost because we know that in the big picture, that review is going
Yeah.
to reduce the noise. It's going to
Yeah.
reduce the cost.
Yep.
And when you're in a fixed cost outsourcing program, the less the cost is, the more our profit is. It's no secret. That's why we need to make sure that the costs are as low as we can get them. And how do we get those costs low? By doing the TAM and the VCIO roles. Yep. That's our secret sauce. And you know, most IT companies out there have their own, you know, secret sauces. But that's our secret sauce. That process to do the TAM and then do the VCIO, translate what the TAM finds into business terms, and then get the customer aligned. The more the alignment, so the higher the ratio of alignment, and we track it in percent, the higher that percent of alignment, the less noise we have at that customer site.
Yeah.
And part of the alignment is when hardware is getting outdated, like before warranty expires and is not going to be renewable, we want to know, like, you know, this customer I was talking about, I remember right offhand, their server warranty is going to expire in March of next year, 3 of 2022. So what do we do? In January, we have a quote already, in the budget, it's already in the budget, that we are going to renew your server warranty. If we cannot renew it at that time, we're going to get you new hardware. Or make a decision if you want to move to the cloud at that point, because that'll be a good juncture to make that decision at. If we're not, if you don't have a process to keep track of those kind of things, you're just waiting for things to break and then you're going to fix them. So you're not really managing anything, you're just fixing stuff. That's all you're doing. You're putting out fires all day long. Right. You're not going to have time for anything else. You're not going to have time for those strategic plans and strategic implementations that are going to help your business. You're just putting out fires all day long.
Yep.
And that's not how you run a business.
No, not at all.
That's how you fail at a business. It's like my wife would always say, she's like, I know what not to do when you're trying to run a business.
Right. Yeah, I mean, again, the beauty of the TAM, and for those of you, I know I call, I bother, but these are the things that we're trying to prevent, you know, and it's, again, it's our superpower, as Nadeem says. You know, I think it really sets us apart, if I'm being really honest, is that, you know, Nadeem's ability to look ahead and actually tie the technology with the business side. You know, and I could be wrong. It doesn't, I don't know of a lot of MSPs that do that, but, you know, for those like us that do that, it makes you think outside of break fix, if you will. Right. This is one of the reasons why this is a good thing for us to just come in, talk, and find out, you know, where the holes are, and have Nadeem give you some insight on that.
And here's another example. So we have engaged with a customer a few times now where they already have an MSP. The MSP is based out of state. They remotely manage their stuff. And when it hits the fan, they call us to send somebody on site. And we're not going to leave them in a lurch. If we have the bandwidth, we'll send somebody on site. But I will never sign an FCO, like a fixed cost outsourcing customer, in a region where I cannot get people on the ground to do these reviews. Whether I have to pay somebody else to do the TAM review, I will pay somebody else to do the TAM review. The reviews, that process is so important. Yeah. If you're running your own IT department, a lot of times your IT department is so busy putting out fires, they don't have time for anything. They don't have time to implement your new software or your new equipment that controls your machining, your lathe machines or whatever, because they're always busy putting out fires, which could have been prevented, but they
In the
don't
first
have that
place.
process in place. Because where does this come from? Maturity. If they've been doing IT for more than 20 years, like we have over here, they would know what they need to do. And a lot of companies out there know what they need to do, but they lose the fact. They're thinking that, oh, well, instead of sending this, instead of doing this TAM visit for 8 hours a day every month, let me skimp on this. I'll do it every once a quarter. How's that?
Yeah.
What they're not seeing is that reduction in TAM visits is going to increase your support tickets, which is going to increase noise in your MSP. Ultimately, you're going to have an unhappy customer, because what do these kind of MSPs do? They will, when they're in meetings with customers, they're not talking about how are we going to get your business to the next level. No, they're talking about, hey, look, we got 2,000 tickets this month and we resolved 1,900 of them. That's not a good thing. That's nothing to be proud of. 2,000 tickets in a month. No, I mean, across all of our businesses, we have average, I think, 5 or 6 tickets per tech person.
Yep.
Support desk person. So 5 or 6 tickets per support desk person a day. It's unheard of. It's usually the industry standard is about 20 tickets per support person per day. So people, like in my pods and in some of my business groups, people ask me, and these are MSP groups, all these companies who get, do this, they're all MSPs in different areas of the country. So they'll ask me, they're like, how in the world are you able to do this? Why are you only having 5 support tickets per tech per day when I have over 20? 20 is average. A lot of them are over 20. I know this one guy I was talking to, he had his average was like 49 per tech per day. And it's like, yeah, your techs are just busy putting out fires, aren't they? But the
All
thing
day.
is,
Good Lord.
you have to have a good process to reduce that noise. And that only comes with experience. Number one, you need to be able to realize what the problem is before you can even solve it. And then number two, you need to standardize, make a process of it to solve it. And every now and then, some individual will kind of slip up, they'll have a bad day or things like that happen. But if your process is good, it'll cover it, it'll take care of it. The business machine will run smoothly. That's the oil. The process is the oil. It will keep your business machine running.
Yep. There it is. There it is.
I get carried away on these kind of things.
But these are things people need to know, though. It's part and parcel of who we are, and like I said, my job here is to call people every day, and that's when I call people and we kind of talk about these things, and just to see for lack of a better term, the laissez-faire type of attitude that people have towards security. You know what you know, like Nadeem says, you know what you know, but what is it that you don't know? And I think I don't know a business owner in the world that relies upon IT infrastructure, whether it be on-prem server, whatever. I just couldn't imagine not sitting there and saying, okay, yeah, I got an IT guy that's handling all of this, but I'm listening to all this other stuff happening. What if that's me? And I'm just, I'm thinking if I were a business owner that relied on that, that would be my thinking, so.
Well, so here's the other side of the equation is, and I've run into some people who have made this comment, there was a prospect I was talking to, and I asked them about, if they've had any breaches, because I saw their infrastructure. I knew it was in shambles. I knew that they had to have some breaches. And I asked them, hey, by the way, have you had any breaches? Have you had any security issues? And he was like, yeah, we've had few, but, nothing extraordinary, just like what everybody else has. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean what everybody else? He was under the impression that every business out there has a couple of breaches a year, and that's normal.
Yeah.
I don't know where he got that idea.
Yeah.
Probably from IT. I don't know. I'm just guessing. You know, it's like no, that's not normal.
Yeah.
Having one breach in your lifetime, that's not normal. You
Normal.
should not have any breaches. Breaches are a bad thing. It's not normal business. That's not a regular business, when you have a breach. That's a big thing. And so there are some people out there who think having breaches is just normal. You just go with it. It is what it is. You just suck it up. I don't know. Uh, yeah, I mean, in this industry, I've seen a lot. I don't want to
Yeah.
say I've seen it all, but I've seen a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, all kinds of stuff happening. I mean, there was so we this is a good one. So the Ferrari dealer down in Houston. So we worked with them for a little bit, and we were doing some projects for them, and Microsoft reached out to them and said, "Hey, we're gonna get you complimentary licenses for analytics, so you can analyze the performance of your cars at the racetrack." And they actually showed them, that how they can improve their performance of the cars by tracking so many different metrics. And these are sensors in the cars that they talk and collect information in real time, so you can make changes. And the owner over there was like, no, we're okay what we do. We're not interested in that. He thought it was just like a, like a, I don't know, like just fluff or something. But anyway,
Mm.
so he didn't go with it. Another dealer in Austin got made the same offer by Microsoft. They took it. And this dealer is struggling. The one in Austin is blowing it out of the park. That's the difference. The business guy was able to see the advantage, and I think there's even some. I think Microsoft did some ads around gathering analytics from sports cars, cars that were racing. I think
Yep.
there was some kind of ad around that. So, he was able to make the right decision, the guy in Austin, and there it is. The guy in Houston now, nobody's heard of him, but the guy in Austin, a lot of people have heard
Yeah.
of
People
him.
heard of them.
Yeah, but
Simple.
but it's one of those things where we can't forget. If forget everything else, forget security, improve your process. Just
Yeah.
improve your process. Have a good process in place.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat. And if your process is good, ultimately you will end up much better over time. It's kind of like when we first onboard a customer, it takes us like around 3 months before that customer starts seeing the benefit of our process, because it takes time to implement that process and build it up. It's like if your process was broken, I cannot come in, wave a magic wand, and just make things better. It's
Right.
going to take time to make the changes to make things better. So, and usually, on average, that time is about 3 months. In about 3 months' time, you start seeing the benefit of our process. And that's when, it's like, I mean, I've had customers where they'll be like, oh, like in a couple of days, they'll be like, oh man, or, we're still having these issues. And it's like, yeah, we just got started 3 days ago. What do you want? I mean, you wanted to get things to get fixed overnight. That's like, that one product mentality where you think you can just buy a product and put it in place and forget about everything else. It doesn't work like that. It takes time to implement the process before you can get the results. And that's what we see. And it is like that in every business. It's not just IT. I mean, it's in any business. I mean, if you need to improve something, you need to make the changes, and then the results come down the line. And usually businesses have figured out how long of a time frame it is to get the results. In our business, it's about 3 months. But anyway, I think we've talked a lot about this. Mac, I hope you have a great long weekend. And I know you're going to stay in, but what are you going to do? I mean, you got anything special?
Nah. Maybe I'll see my daughter. Maybe she'll come visit her old man. These youngins, they get some independence and they forget, about the parents. So,
Yeah.
Maybe she'll come, see her dad. But, honestly, I'm just gonna relax and just
What, are you
that's
not
pretty
gonna
much it.
cook something?
Usually I cook every time, and I can almost guarantee somebody will call me and say, "Hey, we need you to cook." So that's definitely a distinct possibility.
Oh, that's awesome. But yeah, so Mac, you have a great, wonderful long weekend, and
Sure.
I'll see you next week. And everybody out there, y'all have a great weekend as well, and be safe out there. And we'll see you next
Hey,
week.
see ya.